And at first, when I was first starting out, that was always a big challenge. You were trying to do one, be more accurate, but a lot of times it required more time. And then if you went the other way, you were doing things fast, but maybe you suffered accuracy. Well, those things have to be there together. You can no longer trade one for the other.
Are you struggling to streamline financial operations in your JD Edwards system? Curious about how a digital assistant could simplify and automate your financial process? In today's episode, we're joined by Mike Everingham from ERP Suites to explore the powerful capabilities of the JD Edwards digital assistant. Discover practical ways it can automate insights, streamline operations, and transform your financial management. Tune in. This episode will show you exactly how to leverage cutting edge technology for your financial operation. Welcome back to Not Your Grandpa's JD Edwards, the podcast delivering actual insights and innovations for JD Edwards users. I'm your host, Nate Bushfield, and today we're exploring how the JD Edwards digital assistant can revolutionize your financial operations. We're thrilled to welcome Mike Everingham, a seasoned JDE financial consultant at ERP Suites. Mike, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Nate. How are you?
Doing fantastic. It's finally nice and sunny here in Chicago and it's not cold. So it's all you can really ask for during the summer months that they say they have out here. Not really sure when that's actually coming, but it's a good day at least. We got that going for us. But could you briefly share your background with our audience?
Sure. So my background is I started off as an accountant. I have my CPA license. Um, and over 30 years ago, I was introduced to JD Edwards as we implemented it at the company I was working at. And so from then on, I became intrigued with ERP systems, although it wasn't called that at the time. And I had been working with ERP systems for over 30 years, and specifically JD Edwards for roughly 26 or 27 years, obviously focusing on the financial modules, but also immersed in some of the other modules within JD Edwards.
It's awesome. Not to carbon date myself or anything, but you've actually been in this space longer than I've been alive. So there you go.
Thank
Yeah,
you for
something.
making me feel as old as I am.
Oh, I love bringing it up every once in a while. I think it was we had Frank Jordan on the podcast not too long ago, and he said he's been working here for like 30, or not here, but on JD Edwards for about 30 years. And I was like, yeah, that's way older than I am. So he was talking about floppy disk, and I was just happy
Uh-huh.
that I know what a floppy disk is at that point. So
There you go. Yep. Yep.
it's the little things. But anyways,
Yep.
we can jump into it and talk about the challenges in financial operations. So first off, what common financial management challenges do businesses typically face with JD Edwards?
Yeah, there's a few with sometimes around operationally getting transactions into the system. There can be whether it's multiple clicks, just a lot of work to get transactions into the system, and that's always a challenge because it's time consuming. You obviously you are concerned about accuracy of getting data in the system. So those are always a challenge with complex ERP systems. But I think even more so with JD Edwards is JD Edwards has a lot of data. That's the beauty of these systems, but it can also be the curse at times in that how do I get that data? And that's always been a challenge with JD Edwards. And a lot of times users may not know where that data is stored, how it's stored, some of the components around the data. So that presents a challenge when trying to get the data. They know what they want, they just don't know how to get it. And either you're relying on technical resources or you're having to do the investigation yourself, and that can take time. If you don't get it right because you don't understand where it is, that obviously adds another layer to the issue of am I getting good, accurate data out of the system? So those are the challenges with JD Edwards, and even with all the tools that have been created over the life of this system. It still has its challenges, and they're none of them are perfect, and still have always required a sense of technical understanding just to be able to kind of overcome those challenges.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, JD Edwards has really evolved in the past 30 years. And that's something that we've talked about many times throughout the course of this podcast as well. But
Mhm. Mhm.
there's so many different options and opportunities when you face these challenges.
Mhm.
So why is it crucial for companies to really streamline these processes?
Well, I think one of the big tenets in financial reporting is accuracy and timeliness. And at first, when I was first starting out, that was always a big challenge. You were trying to do one, be more accurate, but a lot of times it required more time. And then if you went the other way, you were doing things fast, but maybe you suffered accuracy. Well, those things have to be there together. You can no longer trade one for the other. So simplifying those processes assist in bringing both of those things up together. If you don't have a good system and it's not efficient, one, the accuracy may suffer. And then also then the timeliness. And those are just crucial to businesses anymore that you address both of those things. And by taking out that complexity or automating some of those processes, hopefully will accomplish both of those things that you're trying to do.
Exactly. And the more you automate, the more time that you have on your hands to do maybe something more crucial to your business other than gathering data or really understanding where each point comes from. And yeah, you
Mhm.
talked about the not really the human error side of it, but that could be in this mix of
Mhm.
you could just miss something, move a decimal point, something as simple
Mhm.
as that could really skew your data. So at the end of the
Mhm.
day, like, gotta make sure you're on top of that. But how does outdated or even manual financial management affect overall business efficiency?
Sure. Well, the first thing it can certainly affect growth with the company. If you've got a outdated or a very manual process, you try to expand your business and you're just compounding the problem because now you're adding more data, more transactions into the mix. And if you're already behind, you're just making that situation worse. So that's the first thing you can do is affect growth, and obviously timely uh, information, timely reporting. As we talked about earlier, that is just becoming so critical in today's world. Of I need that information, I need it now. And if you're telling me it's going to take 3 days for you to get that information to me, well, that does me no good. I needed to know that yesterday, and so there's definitely that component. There could be some security risks involved by by not having very efficient processes or things that are outdated, and obviously security is a very important component these days with data, and wasting resources, people not spending time on things that maybe is not as critical as what they could be. And you can deploy your resources better if you can get rid of some of those systems, either automate them, make them much more efficient. And so there's a whole slew of things that can be impacted by keeping those systems outdated or manual.
Yeah, exactly. And the more manual, you also have that risk of, yes, yeah, you're right. Like it could take a lot of time, which is definitely something that no one wants to do. No one wants to have to do a repeatable process every single
Mhm.
time by hand. It just doesn't make any
Mhm.
sense.
Yes.
So when you do free somebody up, and you automate that task. You can also look throughout your business and see, all right, maybe we automate this one task. Maybe there's this little quick win that we're looking for.
Mhm.
That really opens up your eyes in terms of, all right, what else can we really streamline? What else could we really change in terms of our financial side of this?
Mhm.
What can we improve to be able to spend more time on more critical functions, like what you were
Mhm.
saying there.
Mhm.
But anyways, we can switch topics a little bit here.
Okay.
We're going to talk about introducing the JD Edwards digital assistant.
Mhm.
Obviously, AI is a big talking point in our space right now, especially with everybody. Yes, there are more automation things, but we're
Yep.
talking more specifically AI. So can you provide an overview of the actual JD Edwards digital assistant, Franklin, and explain more of its core functions?
Sure. Well, at its foundation is it allows you to create a bridge between the user and the JD Edwards database. We've talked a lot about getting to data, and this the assistant now has been built to okay. It knows the JD Edwards tables, and then it actually simplifies that access to the data. No longer do you need to know, oh, I've got to know this table name. I have to know what fields within that table stores this data, how it's stored. I just need to know what question I need to ask. And then the nice thing about it is, you can do it in natural language, but it also supports analytics. And again, you can not only can it just retrieve data, but then you can say, well, what about this? What if I want to see what if what sales might be if we grow a certain percentage? You can just ask that question, so it can do both data retrieval, what we've done in the past, what has happened, and then also use it to then maybe look at what could be in the future.
Yeah, good forecasting, while also understanding what has happened in the past. The
Mhm.
What's really great about AI in general is that it can really dive through your data. And something that we talked about earlier, as long as your data is really secure and you know that it's not skewed or
Mhm.
messy in one way, shape, or form, AI can give you some really solid points that maybe you would miss.
Mhm.
And it's nothing other than look, like AI can process data a lot faster than we can. At the end of the
Yes.
day, it's just the
Mhm.
truth.
Mhm.
And at the like when you look at what human beings are like able to do, yes,
Mhm.
we can definitely get to the exact same points, but it might take a lot longer than what a digital assistant like Franklin could really
Mhm.
accomplish for us.
Mhm.
But how does Franklin really integrate seamlessly with JD Edwards to enhance financial operations?
Yeah, well, in two ways. I mean, one, it knows the JD Edwards tables. It knows what's in those tables. So when you are, in the case of asking a question, I want to see what were my net sales for quarter one of 2024. It knows exactly where to get that. It knows where that data is stored. And then it also knows the application. So if we get into other operational things like through doing depreciation projections and things, it knows how that application works. And the user doesn't have to go and try to figure it out. They say, okay, I want to look at my projections, and the digital assistant Franklin knows, okay, this is how I have to use that application and tables behind it to accomplish the question or that I'm trying to retrieve for the user. So I think that that's the beauty of it is it knows exactly where all that is. You don't have to tell it; it knows it, and so you can just focus on what question am I trying to ask. And when it does that, then you will have confidence in the information you're getting back.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like automation where you have to teach it what's actually
Mhm.
going on before it can actually change something or be impactful to your business. It already
Mhm.
knows. It's a part of your
Mhm.
system, it's built in,
Mhm.
which, yes, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't mind teaching whatever,
Mhm.
but that's just more time.
Mhm.
Why would you spend time on something when you could instantly just have a digital assistant in this way
Mhm.
where it can learn as you go on. Yes, you can
Mhm.
still teach it things if you're having new processes that maybe it's never seen or something
Mhm.
like that. It can still grow in that way.
Mhm.
But when it comes to the simple things, when it comes to the easier things that, again, you're trying to streamline, you're not trying to do it every single day.
Mhm.
It is
Mhm.
very seamlessly easy to utilize in that way, which has
Mhm.
always been very impressive to me, especially since
Mhm.
like I use more of a chat GPT and I have
Mhm.
to teach it basically everything that I want. And then it's very helpful. But to
Mhm.
do that process every single time, it takes
Yep.
forever.
Yes.
So just to streamline it and have somebody or something,
Mhm.
I guess,
Mhm.
as much as I would like to believe that Franklin is sentient, it's still scary in that thought,
Hmm.
but we'll
Hmm.
get there. But
Hmm. Hmm.
it is very, very, very impactful in that way.
Yeah.
So what makes Franklin particularly effective compared to like traditional financial management tools?
Yeah, well, it's real time. You ask the question, it's building the query at that time. You didn't have to sit down and think about it. What tables am I going to use? So you're talking about shortening that process. In the old days, it was very much you sat down and spec'd out a report or an application or a query, and you had to know the table and the table structure, how the data is in that table. And then even some of the shortcuts. Well, what is a document type and all that? Because if I'm pulling there's no need for that any longer because that intelligence is already there. So now you've cut that time. And then also the beauty of using natural language. I know what I want and I can express that. Franklin has the ability to take that and convert it to what computers and programs and all that need to
Mhm.
go pull the data. You do not have to know that, so you can just type in what you want and make sure you put in all the parameters. The nice thing is as you go, you can tweak it. You think about the old reports, and it's like, okay, I wanted to run this for quarter one of 2024. Well, let me see quarter two. Well, now I got to go back and maybe go in to the query and change it. All you have to do now is just say, well, now show me quarter two. And that's all you have to do, and it knows. Okay, you asked for quarter one. Now you're asking for quarter two. That's it. It's done. The query is already going and pulling that back. So just the beauty of being able to just type out what you want. It knows what you're looking for based on. If it doesn't, it'll ask you, hey, I think this is what you want, and you just
Mhm.
clarify that. But that's just I think the beauty of it, and certainly is a whole different world from what we have come from in the past, where it takes time to do these things, and now it's almost instantaneous. It seems.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, so we also have a demo that's out there, which
Mhm.
like it is really cool to see because as
Mhm.
somebody in my position, I really don't get to see our financial side of it. And
Mhm.
what was really interesting about that is there was a bunch of abbreviations that were used in it. And I was
Mhm.
like, well, is it trained or do you have to spell out every single word? Like, how quick is it? But it seems like it's very seamless in terms of
Mhm.
you can use your own business's language of
Mhm.
certain abbreviations, maybe that way, or certain documents, or maybe even
Mhm.
certain columns that other people might not utilize or might have a different name for, but the
Mhm.
digital assistant knows. And
Mhm.
so instead of having to sit there and explain to it what that actually means, it's quick, it's seamless, it's
Yep.
very simple for you to get that data,
Mhm.
which is very impressive with how far AI has really come. Because I remember
Mhm.
back in the day, AI was just you're talking to a chat bot and you have
Mhm.
four options of what you
Mhm.
can choose and you're like that's not
Mhm.
really that's just automation, that's not really AI.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not really sure how that one would work,
Yeah. Yeah.
but as helpful as chatbots have been,
Mhm.
this is obviously a different level. This is a
Yeah.
different type of AI, which
Mhm.
it really is helpful for a lot of businesses that we have worked with. But
Mhm.
talking about the different businesses that we have worked with, that we have seen, could you share maybe a few specific examples on how the digital assistant has helped streamline financial operations for these businesses?
Yeah, well, there's been a couple of things that we've been able to focus on and accomplish. One of the big areas has always been in the area of AP voucher match automation. That's always a big challenge with companies, especially when you get into manufacturing and distribution type companies where you have large volumes of vouchers that come in and they have to be matched. Well, as we all know, sometimes things don't line up perfectly, and we have that human element that has to go in and try to do that matching. Well, now with the digital assistant and AI, we can teach it to better to get a higher probability of matching. And that way somebody's not having to, and we've been able to do that so that now you're dealing with just true exceptions, things that just nobody's going to be able to figure out because it was either just dead wrong or something was just made by mistake. So by eliminating that, again, you've sped up that process. You've taken a step that somebody has to do. AI has done it for you, and now you're focusing on the important task. Okay, why, if there's anything left that you have to try to automate. And another way closely related to that is also the ability to take invoices from the supplier and find the pieces of information that you need. In the past, in some of the current technology that we have, you basically had to do you had to take each one that you would get and then specifically go and find every place and kind of teach the machine to read it and say, well, this is where this would information will be. Well, now AI is intelligent enough to it's going to read the entire thing and it's going to pick it out, and its hit rate is going to be pretty good unless somebody's hand scribbling information on an invoice, which most companies don't do today. Then it's easy to pull that information, find it, and be able to match that up to the information that's in JD Edwards. So that I think is a huge area that AI and this digital assistant can really streamline, because I think a lot of companies just has always been a challenge. AP is as much as we've automated things, it can even stand even more automation and more ways to improve that process. And then there's from a more analytical side of it, one of the things is being able to ask a question. This is one that I used at a company before. In terms of cash flow is always big with companies. What is our cash position? Well, JD Edwards does a good job on the outgoing side, the payment side. We can easily go in and see, this is what I have due the next 7 days, the next 14 days, so I can predict. The harder side is on the cash receipt side, because you don't know when everybody's going to pay you. You know when they're supposed to pay you, but they don't always pay on time and all that. Well, now with some of this predictive technology and some of that information, we can now ask it, what do I expect to get paid based on what invoices I have out there, the history of how my customers have paid? Do they pay on time? Do they pay late? Do they pay early? If we know that information, then we can project, okay, this is what we think our cash income or incoming cash will be over the next 7 days. So now you have the ability to ask that question, and it could go out and do that prediction for you and give you that information. So I think that's a real testament to the beauty of that is, being able to take something that was kind of difficult to get before without creating a report or something like that. Now you can just ask that question, and it can go out and do that analysis for you and then come back with some information.
Yeah, very true. And I bet you're kind of kicking yourself of, oh man, I kind of wish that this was out when I was an accountant. I'm sure that
Absolutely.
life would be a lot easier if we had
Hmm.
something like this at that time. And I'm sure that you're maybe even questioning, oh, should I go back to it? It seems like it would be a lot easier at this point. But we do enjoy you in the JD Edwards space. So I would say, please don't. I mean,
Okay.
please don't. But uh,
Hmm.
it's always fun to think about of like past
Yeah.
jobs. And hell, I mean, even when I was back in school, being
Hmm.
able to utilize ChatGPT or digital assistants or anything like that at this point,
Hmm.
it would make that one studying would be a lot easier because it would
Hmm.
take you through step by step of what you were really trying to accomplish there. But it's
Hmm.
also like the amount of time that you would spend looking at a balance sheet and making
Hmm.
sure that both sides make sense and
Yep.
everything like from an income statement, invoices, everything like that. It really can just take all the data and put it into one spot and see if it really is matching up, especially with our new document understanding and with even sales
Hmm.
orders.
Hmm.
There's that side of it where, yeah, you could be missing a decimal point. You could be
Hmm.
missing
Hmm.
certain little things throughout time.
Yep.
But
Yep.
this is just like the digital assistant really cuts through all of that. And if you are missing something, it'll highlight it. It'll say,
Hmm.
you are missing this. You need to
Hmm.
figure out what this means. Like, and it's funny that you bring up the scratching on like a paper or something. Whenever
Hmm.
I'm thinking like that, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Imagine one of these documents is looking at like a doctor's prescription or
Hmm.
something.
Hmm. Yep. Yep.
And you're like, oh yeah, there's no way it could tell. But there are actually a lot of different I guess, applications that are out there, digital systems
Mhm,
that are out there that
mhm.
are trained to read specifically doctor's handwriting.
Yes. Yep.
So, and if that's possible, I feel like, especially with our digital assistant, there's a lot of room to grow in terms
Mhm,
of what it can
mhm.
actually utilize. But again, nobody really writes balance sheets anymore. It's
Correct.
the thing of the
Correct.
past. I mean,
Yep.
thank God, really. But
Absolutely. Yep. Yep.
um, yeah, I know it's funny to think about. But how
Mhm.
does Franklin's integration with machine learning and even generative AI enhance predictive and or analysis in financial forecasting?
Yeah. It's well, it really gives you hopefully getting rid of not having to spend a lot of time digging through spreadsheets. The old days of doing financial planning, forecasting, lots of spreadsheets. And then you're digging through that to, if somebody comes and asks you a question, you're digging through that. Well, now you can just type that in and you can set whatever parameters you want. You can set upper limits, lower limits, high probability, low probability. You can do all of that and just ask the question, very specific, or more broad, and you can get that answer back very quickly. You don't have to go to a spreadsheet and go find that formula that you had that information in and plug it in. And again, going back to human error, well, what if I didn't type that formula incorrectly, or I missed a decimal spot in that, and now your numbers are skewed, and you got to go back, find it, and the worst is always trying to find that formula, and if it's linked into another document, just having that ability to do that, and especially for quick responses. The CFO or somebody's asking you a question about something, and you can easily enter that information and get that information back. Again, less spending time going through spreadsheets and things like that, and more time, hey, I got the answer, I can give it to them. They may come back in for additional analysis, and then I can spend time on that, but I'm not spending you know all this time just trying to find the answer first, or find the initial number before I can do the analysis. You're doing all of that in the same amount of time, that it took you under the old way.
Yeah, exactly. The old ways, I hope they'll never return, truthfully.
Yes, correct. Hmm.
I mean, but yeah, like when you're looking at something like this, when you're looking at how fast that we can really turn around the data, it is
Hmm.
very impressive because back in the day, you were right. We'd sit there and it would maybe take an hour to complete. All right, we
Hmm.
need to find this one number. Hour
Hmm.
later, you find out one number, you give it to your boss, give it to whoever is really asking for it.
Hmm.
Then the follow-up questions start happening. You're like, oh, I got to go back through and figure
Hmm.
out why we got to that number, how we got to that number.
Hmm.
Let's check every single little formula, like you were talking
Yep.
about. AI really cuts that out. It
Hmm.
allows us to use more of our actual human brain that we need to
Hmm.
instead of just crunching numbers in a calculator. I mean, I
Hmm.
still have my TI-84, my
Hmm.
sitting somewhere. But last time I've used it, couldn't tell you. AI has made it
Hmm.
very
Hmm.
easy in terms of
Yep.
figuring out formulas and that side of things, which is great for building spreadsheets. It's also great for building comprehensive spreadsheets that somebody might actually look at and to
Hmm.
understand in that way. It's
Hmm.
very great at doing that. But what are some other like direct benefits that companies experience after implementing the digital assistant?
Yeah, I think right off the bat, just efficiency, timeliness, that we've talked about throughout this conversation, and I think that's going to be immediate. But I think kind of more subtly is, I think users will get more confident in the system, because now they know they've got something that can help them out if they've got a question or they need to enter something. Having that ability to not, they don't necessarily need to have a master class level of understanding of JD Edwards to accomplish more things within their job. So I think there's a whole wide range of direct benefit by having this. Some of it's more concrete, and I think some of it's a little more subtle in giving the users that that help that they think that's going to help them out or that they need to do their job. And so I think those are even things I don't know if you put a price tag on, because people are just, hey, I feel better about it. I feel more confident in doing what I'm doing. I know what I want. Now all I have to do is just spell it out the way I know, the way it's formulating in my brain. I don't have to go, which file do I need to go look at in JD Edwards? Where is it? That's all eliminated. And now they can just focus on, what's my question? What do I need to find out? I can get that information and move on.
Yeah, exactly. And as somebody that's not the best at organization, let me tell you, AI is fantastic with that. I,
Hmm.
I really will say,
Yes.
because it'll be able to pull from the specific document that you're talking about, even if you can't find it.
Hmm.
And that's
Hmm.
that's what's really great about it. I mean, yeah, it's really helped me out in that way. It
Hmm.
also has made me believe that maybe I don't need to be organized. So maybe that's a negative about it. But
Yeah.
we can have that debate, I
Yes.
guess.
Hmm.
But yeah, you're right. There are so many different benefits, and especially like there's benefits that you can't even see until
Hmm.
maybe you do. You find one little thing that you need. You take that
Hmm.
quick win, as we've been talking about, like throughout
Hmm.
the entirety of this AI projects that we've been going
Hmm.
on.
Hmm.
But that little quick win will open up your eyes to little tiny things that maybe, all right, let's see if it can do this. Let's see if it can
Hmm.
help out
Hmm.
in this area. Let's see
Yeah.
what else it can truly do to streamline this process to make it a lot easier for the rest of us.
Hmm.
And that's what's great about bringing AI and this digital
Yeah.
assistant in specific into a like an actual industry or into a company,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
it can help out in, yes, the little ways that maybe you see instantly, but
Hmm.
kind of like what you were saying, there might be other things that are like hidden behind certain walls, or maybe
Hmm.
it's not
Hmm.
something that you really think about every single day. But
Hmm.
imagine if you could do the little things that you might not always need to do, but it's something that would bring tremendous value to your company,
Yeah.
in a very quick manner. So maybe you do
Hmm.
those processes even more. And maybe you
Hmm.
just have more data to actually be able to analyze and
Hmm.
improve your business in that way. It's
Hmm.
just endless possibilities with
Yep.
this. Endless
Yes.
customers, some say.
Sky's
Uh,
the limit. What you can ask. Yep.
exactly. But anyways, if you're ready to transform your financial operations using the JD Edwards digital assistant, ERP Suites is here to guide your journey. Connect with Mike and the ERP Suites team at erpsuites.com to start optimizing your financial processes today. But that's a wrap on today's insightful episode of Not Your Grandpa's JD Edwards. Huge shout out to you, Mike. I know you're a busy guy, but it's great to have you on here sharing your expertise through all of this, seriously. But if you found this helpful, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and share this episode with your peers. Until next time, streamline operations, embrace innovation, and maximize your efficiency. Catch you later.